so embarrassed. I'm embarrassed as an American that we got this kind of foolishness masquerading as a governor. I mean, this is, I mean, bad enough we had that trifling president who had no business being president, who was wholesale stupid, wholesale disingenuous, wholesale didn't give a damn about the American public. Oh my God. Oh my God. And all the people that supported him, I tell you, thank God they righted that mess. Thank God. Thank God. I just I have a hard time with people who are just stupid. I just, that president was an idiot, an absolute fool. He was a fool on the world stage. He's a fool for the government. I mean, and you just look at the people that supported him and you just like, they're fools too. And you're just like, what is wrong with you? And the people who are not vaccinated are those supporters, those dump supporters, dump supporters, still going along. Now, mind you, Dump and his family, they've been vaccinated in secret, secretly vaccinated. And these people are running around unvaccinated, thinking they in solidarity with this fool. He's already vaccinated. I don't, Lord have mercy. Oh my God. And the fact that so many people died under his watch is unconscionable. More people died under his watch than all the wars in all the world. That is unconscionable. He has not done one good thing for this country. One. Not one. Except insult people, insult women, insult just across the board, insult veterans, insult, our allies, cozied up to dictators. Painful. Painful. And a first lady who didn't give a damn about being first lady. Can't name. The only thing she ever did was be best. That's her whole thing. Be best. Whatever that means. Be best. I don't get it. I don't get how, we sunk and sank to the lowest level, I think, in the history of the country. Barring all the transatlantic slave stuff, I think that was the lowest level. I think that was the lowest level. And we still have not recovered from that. But having that guy as the president, the history books would be, and God knows what a dump library would look like. It'd be a library with no books. You know what it'll be? A hallway. The presidential hallway. Because all you would be able to do is walk through. It'd be the first presidential hallway. And where would it be? In Florida? The home of the home of the foolish. Florida is the home of the foolish. Everybody else will raise money to get a presidential library. This guy will get a presidential hallway. Because what would you put in there? You know what you could do? You could run all the insults, like the New York Times took like several pages of the Times and ran all the tweets, all the insulting tweets and all that. You could put that on the walls, and there would be no books, because the books that he wrote, he didn't really write. He didn't even write. Somebody else wrote those books undercover. So we can have a hallway full of Art of the Deal? Or you mean Art of the Steal? And then I just, you know what? A presidential hallway would be fitting, or a presidential closet, a hallway, and then at the end of the hallway, a closet with all that Trump junk, all that cheap junk that he's known for, and you give it a gold doorknob because He likes gilded things. You know, he's cheap like that. Cheap, 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 cheap. So you create a hallway to a door to nowhere. Oh my God. Can you imagine what would a presidential library look like? It would be like a hall of horrors. So I say a presidential hallway in Florida somewhere with a at the end of the hallway, a door to nowhere with a gold doorknob and all the crap that him and Melania amassed while they were grifters in the White House. Grifters. They were the first family of grifting, all of them. The daughter, the son-in-law, the sons, grifters. And they're not very bright people. That's the thing, I watched them. They've been on, that when the 4 years that this aberration was happening, you watch them and they couldn't talk intelligently about anything. And I was like, they all have went to college and all this other kind of stuff. And I just don't understand. What did they do? Did they sit out every single day? Because they're not very, they tend to be, they just grift. I mean, they're just grifters, I was waiting for, and they're trying to hawk stuff out of the White House, turn the White House into the Home Shopping Network. Ivanka selling, what was she selling? Peddling jewelry or some old mess? And Melania peddling watches. I was like, what? Oh my God. I thought this is the lowest of the low of the low. Talking about trash. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. And now he's threatening, and he's got this GOP party by the, well, I'm not going to say by the balls. I say that. Got him by the throat. These people can't move left or right because they are under the shadows of this foolishness, because he's got all these followers that can translate into votes. More votes than they've ever seen in the history of the party. So that's why they are behaving the way that they're behaving. This is why they are, against everything that they know, touting these ridiculous conspiracy theories, anti-Semitic statements by that crazy woman, even after she went to the Holocaust daggone museum, and she's still questioning the Holocaust. I'm like, girl, you need to go sit your behind down somewhere for somebody to beat you to death, because you're just stupid. And then they all know it. And then they come out and say, well, she doesn't speak for the party. But yet y'all not muzzling her. You're letting her say all these things. And nobody is showing up to shut it down. This is why they have no backbone, no spine. They have no backbone and no spine, all of them. And here's the thing, they all know better. They just playing to those votes that Trump got, that 43 million or whatever it was. They're playing to that number, they're playing to it. And it's just shameful. And beyond shameful, it's embarrassing that America has in its congressional leadership that level of deliberate and willful stupidity and ignorance. Deliberate and willful, masquerading as leadership. And I just never thought I'd see it, but I'm seeing it. We're all seeing it. And history is not going to be kind. I just wish the press would have taken a harder role, a harder stance. And the press did this Trump administration, did the American public a very disservice when they did not hit hard on this president. They hit harder on some other presidential candidates throughout history. That when what's his face had that chick sitting on his lap on a boat, he got kicked right out from being president. Or when when he was the nominee, uh, laughing so loud and ridiculously, he got put out, right? The doctor. So they get to this Trump and it's a freak show and they know it, but it becomes entertainment rather than news. So they follow the entertainment road rather than the news road. So they're not doing their due diligence at the beginning of this thing. Because if they would have did their due diligence, if the press would have hard walked this thing, he would not have been president. They could have just hammered him, hammered him, hammered him to the point where he couldn't have won. But because they were taken aback by how low he would go, every day he would reach some new low. And people were like, I can't believe he said that. I can't believe he carried on that way. I can't believe. And then they were like, this is the lowest it'll get. And then the next day he come back with some even lower mess. Lower. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And then he's stupid. And then, oh my God. And then with this whole China variant. And he is the reason for this Asian hate. He is the reason, the catalyst for it. Come on, let's call it what it is. Stop playing these games. He is the reason why this Asian hate has exploded, because he's standing up there at the podium calling it the Chinese flu and all this other kind of mess. Like this fat, overweight, sloppy, unintelligible guy holds the record for the most bankruptcies of a private citizen in the United States. I'm telling you, we got some reckoning to do. Racist with a capital R. I don't understand it. I still don't understand it. And I think because people were so shocked by the behavior that they couldn't look away. And it was stunning. I think it just, and people were like, oh no. And this is the thought. And I know this because everybody in my circle was like, oh, he would never be president. Because, smart, intelligent people see through this, and everyone sees through this foolishness. No one, and that, the GOP at that time, they had like 50 million people running, right? They had a laundry list of people, of candidates. Mitt Romney for the umpteenth time. I mean, all kinds of people. They even had a black guy in there. This guy wins the nominee because he says the things that you wouldn't say in mixed company or any company. He broke the political rules on behavior. He is uncouth and has no manners. And so that resonated with people. It resonated with people. And why it resonated with people is shocking to me, because if that's the behavior that people want to pass off as leadership, then there should be no suspensions of kids in school. People should not be fired from their jobs for harassment or any of that. If that is the order of the day, that is the behavior that is acceptable at the highest office in the land, then nobody should be penalized for that behavior. And where will we be if that happens? This guy is in conversation with another guy talking about grabbing women by the pussy. And you just get up on them and kiss them. They never see it coming. And they're not going to say no to you. Listen, where I come from, that's called assault. That's rape. That's assault. And for us to pretend that it's not, when you push up on a woman against her will, did she consent? Did she say yes to this? Was it a yes? And he's like, oh, they just let you do it. I was like, what? And I know every woman in this country understands what he is saying. That sometimes a man will run up on you and you don't have any real recourse in those moments to fight back. because it is disarming when somebody puts their hands on you in a manner that you did not consent to. I don't know any woman who has not known that situation. Just about every woman has been in that situation where some man has run up on them and put them in a compromising decision. And then in those moments, you have to decide after the fact what you're going to do about it. And we all know as women, what you're going to do about it creates more problems for you as the woman making the claim and the charge. And so you have to think in those moments, is this worth what I have to go through to get justice in this moment? And that's really how it all comes down in these kinds of situations. This is why rape cases get away with the way that they get away, because women have to be prepared to endure the foolishness. I remember very clearly when I worked for Rape Crisis Services and walking women through the system, right? When they want to make the claim, first of all, they got to go have a rape kit at the hospital. You know what a rape kit consists of? Having your pubic hairs combed, right? And onto a paper so they can put it in a bag. Having your vaginal wall swabbed, right? That's invasive after you've been raped. If you have your fingernails dug out, you know, all those kinds of, that's what it entails. It entails those kinds of things. I don't know any woman who would willingly endure that foolishness on a whim or false narrative to go to the hospital and to deal with having your pubic hairs combed, having your vaginal wall swabbed, having your anus swabbed, having your throat swabbed, having your fingernails dug out. I've been in the room with women having this done. So don't listen. So you have to decide in those moments when this is happening to you, when it has happened to you, do you want to go further? And this becomes a dragging of your character, of your family's character. You know, what were you wearing? What were you drinking? What time of night was it? As if somehow or other, anytime after midnight is permission to rape somebody. We just get stupid about this stuff. So we have a president who talks about his own self assaulting women who are well-known, accomplished women. And what do they do in those moments? Every woman is not going to say, every woman is what they're going to do is swallow this experience and try to move on with their lives, because to them, it is not worth the public scrutiny of who they are and what they are in the face of somebody who is quote unquote powerful. Very few women could do it. Very few women could stand up to that level of scrutiny. Very few women. That's why these men get away with what they got away with. Trump, Weinstein. Weinstein is not getting charged for every woman that he assaulted. And God knows, we know it was a gazillion. Bill Cosby, same thing. All these clowns are cut from the same cloth. They feel like they are entitled to take what they want from any woman that they want at any time and dare them to say anything about it. That's how this works. So you have a president of the United States who speaks to assaulting women, speaks to it. I grab them by the pussies. I push up on them, I get on them fast, and they don't even see it coming. They just let you do it. He said it not in a locker room kind of way. Because, you know, I've been in locker rooms. I've been in professional football and basketball locker rooms. And I understand locker room talk. That was not locker room talk. That was an admission. That was a confession of, this is how I get down. This is what I do. This is how I roll. So let's be clear. We elected a man who has no regard for women. No regard for women. 5 children, 3 wives. Cheated on the first wife. That first wife, in a deposition, said, keep her. Then They put the fear of God in her, and she walked it back. This is what happens to women all the time, particularly women married to high-powered men. See these domestic violence cases, these calls, these men beat these women, and then they were like, oh no, it was a misunderstanding. This is why some states have said, and particularly in Connecticut, we don't need your testimony, ma'am. We could bring our charge, the state could bring the charges with or without you. So don't you worry. Don't you be afraid. We don't, if you make the phone call and the cops come, got this. So yeah, she walked it back. How could she not walk it back? She got too much to lose. She had too much to lose and still was trying to raise kids, right? The monster. And we know it. And we rewarded this monster the highest office in the land. He got rewarded with the highest office in the land. Trash. Always been trash. Came from trash. Family members wrote books saying he's trash. He is trash. Daddy was trash. He's trash. Has always been trash. Gonna still be trash. That's not leadership. I wouldn't want none of my children growing up to be anywhere, any kind of person that way. He is not a man that I would be proud to have my sons be like. Are you kidding me? I would be ashamed if my sons talked about women the way that this man talked about women. I would be ashamed. I would be wholesale ashamed. And that's not leadership. That's terrorism. He's a terrorist. And no woman is safe in his presence. You know what I'm saying? So while everybody's got their lips twisted about Cuomo, and rightly so, I'm not defending Cuomo, rightly so, but you had a whole president who was stupid and mean-spirited and crazy and had no regard for women. None. Disrespectful to women, disrespectful to other people, disrespectful to the military, disrespectful to the disrespectful across the board. And it was just embarrassing every time he stepped out and talked about anything. And the way that he treated the press. And once he started treating the press, I wish to God the press would have just hounded him, but they didn't do it. I mean, they did it a little bit. The New York Times started leading the charge, but by that time, the entertainment piece had gone too far. By that time, but by that time, you know, he became the president, and I remember going to bed and waking up the next day, sick, just sick, and sad, and damn near depressed that this fool was the president of the United States. That this fool was the president of the United States. We can't ever have this again. We just can't have this level of willful and deliberate stupidity and ignorance. Yeah. So I put this whole virus pandemic at his doorstep. I do. And I know other people do. Because if he was a genuine leader, he would have handled this at the very beginning and not made a joke of this and light of this and carried on the way that he did. That 700,000 people would never had to die because he was an idiot. I mean, talking about the forest fires. Oh, there's things you can do. You could sweep the forest floor. Like, what? oh my God. And then these people, and then listen, what you want about Fauci. He got us through the AIDS year. That man is smart, well respected. Anybody who says otherwise is an idiot. So, he has some knowledge how to fight these. And I think if that dump administration would have been able to listen to him fully and accurately, we would have been further along on the other side of this. But because they were just stupid, so no, let them all get COVID. Let them all get COVID. What happens? I'm just saying. That's where I'm at with this. That's how I feel about all of this. So now I've said what I want to say about that. So now we have to move forward. So now we know that masking makes a huge, tremendous difference in this fighting of this virus, right? Because this virus is mutating. I was at my podiatrist yesterday, and he was saying, "Listen, we are going in the wrong direction. People need masking 7. Like they should mandate masking. We are going in the wrong direction." These are doctors saying. I have a whole team of doctors. They're all saying that we're going in the wrong direction. And people want to make this political. Now, listen, I get it. I think, when you make things political, sometimes it can go the right way. But this isn't going the right way. This isn't going the right. Everybody's worried about votes. And I think votes in the absence of what is in the best interest of the country makes no sense. And that's a dereliction of duty, I think. I personally, I don't. So what if you don't get elected? Do the hard things. The hard things. We're gonna be locked down for the fall. Get ready. Start making your reservations for your food deliveries. It's gonna be locked down. Because what I know about this virus, I sat on these 2 work committees in the middle of this pandemic, Yale, and I learned so much. And when I used to come back and talk to my girlfriends, I used to say, "Man, these 2 groups, these 2 task force I'm on, it's like task force of gloom, doom, doom, and gloom," because it was around protocols of the ventilators. They wanted to make sure they were equitable and inclusionary for these ventilators, so that folks from Greenwich, because Greenwich doesn't have a big ass hospital like we do in New Haven. So if people in Greenwich get sick, guess what happens? They come to New Haven. And if they had COVID, do they get on the ventilators before somebody who's already in the waiting room, the hospital? It's those that's not the specific case, but cases like that. Like, how do you when these people come from Madison or Guilford or wherever the hell they're coming from outside of, and they're white and they're affluent, how do you be equitable with the use of these ventilators? We only got X amount of ventilators. So how do you do that? And so that's the protocol. And because listen, this is what I know, this is what I've learned, that most people in the urban centers have a lot of the comorbidities that under normal conditions wouldn't allow for you to be considered for the ventilators, because their chance of survival is already slim, and getting on the ventilator, it makes you it might give you a fighting chance, but so many other variables create the firestorm where it's unlikely that you'll survive. So let's put somebody who doesn't have any of these comorbidities, or at least less comorbidities, because they have a better percentage of surviving. And so the idea is, how do we look at these comorbidities? Are they the only factors in deciding who gets on these ventilators? Because it's not first come, first serve. It's let's look at who has a better rate of survival, whose percentage numbers are better. And so, and it was a task force full of doctors, ethicists, people who think about things ethically, other scientists, immunologists. I mean, it was all kinds of people in this work group. And it was a fascinating, always a fascinating conversation. Always a fascinating conversation. And it was wonderful to talk to people and sort of hear, and there was ministers like Reverend Benita Grubbs, the brother from Mount Airy Baptist Church, because you know sometimes you have to consider somebody's prayer life and faith that can supersede all their comorbidities, and that's a hard thing to sort of um, talk about, right? Like versus somebody who doesn't have a faith-based anything, and they are coming in from wherever they're coming in. And um so the thinking was, you don't know what people's faith can allow them to do. You don't know how faith allows people to rise up above a medical situation and come out on the other side better. So it was all these kinds of conversation. I mean, it was wholly fascinating. Oh, don't get me wrong, it was doom and gloom all the way, but it was wholly fascinating to talk about all these things, how they um impact health and care. I mean, it's all those kinds of things, right? You don't know the power of prayer for some people. You don't know the power of faith for some people. And how do you include that in the decision making in determining who gets on the ventilator? Who gets on the ventilator? Who has a fighting chance? Who's outcome? Anyway, if you just tuned in, you're listening to Lovebabz Love Talk on 103.5 WN. We're live streaming on the New Haven Independent, and we're on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Yes, our FC housekeeping. So I learned a lot, and it got me thinking about a lot of things. And it got me thinking about how I thought it was very forward thinking that they were looking at these protocols from so many different angles. Looking at the protocols on how to use ventilators. And then the second group that I was on was the ECMO group. And ECMO is, I guess, akin to last resort kind of measures. Like if this is last resort. And so the protocols around that was the use of children, not the use of children, but using ECMO on children. And how difficult that is to say to parents, no, your kid wouldn't benefit from ECMO. Your kid is essentially dead, that kind of thing. Or ECMO is tough for adults, even with a child on it. It's, the odds are, you got better odds in Vegas, baby. And it's hard because parents will say, I don't give a damn. Do whatever heroic measures you need to do to save my kid. Very few parents will say, you know what, it's in God, whatever. Just let my kid go. Let God's, whatever. There are people who are like, whatever, by any means necessary. And so the conversation was interesting around looking at that, looking at those protocols, and who do you need to bring in to have these very delicate conversations with families, parents in particular, but with families about a child that is being considered for ECMO. And these things have to happen really fast. It's not like you got weeks to decide this. You have to decide these things in moments, right? So what are the protocols? Like, who do we need to call? Who needs to be in the room? What are the procedures? It's all those kinds of things. So it was quite fascinating to me about, and it got me thinking about what would I want? I mean, we all sort of think about what would we want in our moments, like, do we want heroic measures, and do we want? I personally, I want all the things. I want all the heroic measures. I want everything done, and then if if it yields nothing, okay, then it's done. But I want the effort. I want the efforts. If I got to be on, if I got to be kept alive for a little while till I get some strength, I want that, because that's essentially what the ventilator is. The ventilator helps you breathe until your lungs can take over, so your lungs can get strong enough um, to fight back and breathe on your own. But you can't be on it for long term. Like, so your lungs have to progress. If they don't progress, you just can't be on this thing for long periods of time, right? Like, just then it works against you. But then the ventilator works against you. So I want all the things that I don't have a not resuscitate code. I'm not with that. I want all the things. If you got to do 35 minutes of CPR, I want it. If you got to intubate, I want it. I want all the measures. And I've been intubated, so I know what it's like to have that damn tube down your. Listen. I've been intubated once, and it's a terrible, terrible feeling once you come to, and they gotta pull that whole tube out. It's a weird thing, but I want all the measures. FYI, all the measures. I want all the measures. I'm very clear. I want all the measures. I don't want anybody to get to the hospital to be like, "Oh, we think Babz want." Nope, Babz want all the measures. Whatever will be allowed. I want all the measures. And for however long I could have all the measures. That's how I feel. However long I can have all the measures. That's it. That's the truth. That's the truth, Ruth. That's the truth. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yes. So anyway, that's my story around that. Listen, if you hadn't had a chance to read the Freed Woman Fund launch over at the New Haven Independent, go. There's some good conversation going on. Racist conversations. With people asking questions under a racial gaze, under a racist gaze. They ask these questions, see it for what it is. I know why you're asking it, and how dare you ask it? If somehow or other I got to be concerned about white women, white women don't be concerned about me. There's enough stuff out here for white people. But saying. So anyway, so go and jump in the conversation. It's going on. It's an ongoing conversation. I've waited a couple of times. I just couldn't help it. I just couldn't help it, because you know what? When I see white supremacy rear up, I just got to beat it back. Have to. So where I'm at, I just leave it there. Leave it there. So if you had, there's other good stuff at the New Haven Independent too. So don't just be like stuff I tell you to read. Go read some other stuff. Got some other stuff going on that's happening. And I drove by my neighborhood yesterday, and I saw Elliker in the learning corridor, I guess, and the um, hospital people, I guess, back, revving up for more vaccine, because we are in a hot spot, and I need them to be able to get on board with this thing. Board. So the Free Women's Fund has raised $3,495. I'm so very pleased. That is putting me well on my way to my $50,000 goal. I got a year. I've given myself a year. I love that people. I love that people gave. Thank you to Ed Joyner, gave a wonderful donation on behalf of my mother. I appreciate that. And thank you to the person who said a kind word of remembering my mother on the post. I think I know who it is now. Thank you very much. And doing some real having real conversation, and not that race baiting kind of conversation, because people can ask questions to race bait, and then don't like to answer, because most people who can answer race baiting questions come to it from a historical place. They can chapter verse quote you any point in time in history where the inequities of Black people in the country are very clear. So, but if you're not willing to sort of see that, and if you just base your question on 2021, then you're an idiot, pretty much. And it says you're not really interested in the question. You're just interested in some fake provocative, look at me. Oh, I think I'm being smart and witty by asking the question, and then you're using language like segregation, which is, Klansplaining as far as I'm concerned. That's Klansplaining language. Ain't nobody segregating nothing. Where do you even get that from? This is not 1964. What are you talking about, segregation? So, and if you really want to talk about segregation, talk about the public school system and neighborhoods, which are still very segregated, as if it was 1954 or 44 or 24 or 1904, right? So so stop it. See, that's what I mean. People come to this, they come to these trying to be provocative and thinking they're wise and smart and all this other kind of stuff. And they really are just willfully and deliberately ignorant and stupid. So so when they meet first of all, there's no match for that kind of foolishness. But when they are slapped back with historical reference, truth, and bona fide examples of discrimination across the board, then they're like, oh, then they fiend like, oh, I feel attacked, I feel maligned, I'm not being understood. That's not, wasn't asking the question for the, and white women are good for that kind of, some white women are good for that kind of fake provocative, and then they start crying, crocodile tears. Oh, so, take your Karen, Becky foolishness to your own group of people who support that mess. Because if you come up here and you address me, you ask me the question, listen, the question was, why do I have a fund for Black women? Because that seems like you're segregating. And my answer is, Black women coming into any reentry don't have the same reentry opportunities as other women. And by other women, white women, right? So I, as a Black woman who knows something about coming back to community and what needs to happen, I'm about the support of Black women. I'm not about all women. I'm about all women in the sense that all women ought to have a fair shake. But the reality is all women don't have a fair shake. And Black women are on the bottom rung of that. Black women make 63 cents for every dollar a white man makes. So when you come at me with your disingenuous question, then that means, your intent is not to get to truth. Your intent is to race bait and think that you are somehow or other saying, look at these people being segregationist and racist. So you're trying to turn the tables where there are no tables to be turned. Because as I see it, white women sit solely at the head of the Klan table. Sorry. Not all white women. I got some white women. I know some white women who about it. I know some white women who get in the weeds, baby, and will help you get some learning in a day. I know some white women bring it and bring it in a way that you won't even know, you won't even see it coming. So miss me with your fake, disingenuous question. You know how those Trump dumpers like to say fake news, fake question, fake question. So I'm just saying, fake. So so she's and I know who it is. Made the mistake of coming to me first, and she didn't like my answer. So when the article posted up on the New Haven Independent site, she saw this as an opportunity to speak to a wider audience and perhaps get some support around this, right? And she hasn't. Now, no one has served her. Like no one has resorted to calling her like names other than white supremacy. But that you that's some white supremacist tactic to center yourself in somebody else's narrative where you don't belong. You know, uh, and I get that some people think, well, that's a legitimate question to ask. Well, what's the legitimate question? Why is there a fund just for Black women? That's a legitimate question. Why isn't there a fund for just Black women? No one asked the Boys and Girls Club. Nobody asked the YMCA. Well, well, why was it YMCA? Well, why is there a YWCA? Well, why can't there just be a young people's CA? You know? But why are there just Boy Scouts? Why are there Girl Scouts? Why can't there just be Scouts? Why are there historically Black colleges? Why can't they just go to college? That's when people ask these questions, that means they have no understanding of history. They have no historical understanding of anything. They're just talking from a place where they believe they are at and how they see the world. They've not done any homework, they've not read any books, they've not gone deep, they don't know any history, nothing. They just are going on where they are right now. And where they are right now is centered in whiteness without any sense of understanding how whiteness became the prevailing uh, uh, leader of all things. You say to them slavery, oh, that was such a long time ago, but yet you still benefit from the long time ago. You still benefited from a long time ago. Oh, my ancestors didn't. Oh, how do you know? Do your roots? How do you know? How do you know? Did you do your roots? Oh, my family came over here as immigrants. And if they came over here as immigrants, as white people, guess what they did? They changed their name and assimilated. Came from Poland, Czechoslovakia, came from Italy. You know, if your skin was white, just assimilated. Ireland, assimilated. You didn't open your mouth. Came, you worked, they saw you as white. You became white people. You became white people. Because Irish was hated too, right? Irish people weren't wanted. Czechoslovakians weren't wanted. Those white people weren't wanted by the white people that were already here. And then what did they do? They got in their community. They raised their children not to speak their home native tongue or not speak their tongue in public or outside of their community, and they assimilated. And they changed their name. Like the Trumps changed their names. They come over here with the name Trump. They changed it. That's the history. Because they didn't like the name because the name was off-putting. Changed it. You know what it was? Trump, Trumps, something or other. Changed it. So stop it. So if you're not willing to sort of do your historical work, shut up. You don't got no dog in this fight. Now you just sound crazy. And then you talking to other people who don't have a clue either. So y'all all getting together, rah, 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 about stuff that you don't know anything about. And you're not willing to know anything about. So yeah, so the question is disingenuous when all you want is to race bait. Because that's what you're doing. You're not interested in historical nature. Because if you were, you'd be spending your time in the 1619 project, the whole New York Times piece. You'd be learning that. Go learn that. A whole bunch of books on this stuff. Whole bunch. Learn. And then you have a better understanding of how we got here. How do we get to 2021 with all the sort of stuff that we got going on? Then your question turns a bit. Oh, why don't we have more funds like this for Black women coming out of prison? You know, you'd be better. Her question would have been better asked if why don't we have enough halfway houses for women, all women, any woman coming out of prison? Because there aren't any. There's like one, right? In the whole state of Connecticut. You know how many there are for men? Lots. So your question is rooted in something other than getting to the truth of things. It's really some other thing. And when you get called out on it, and then you want to say, oh, no, that's not what I meant. Oh, I'm being misunderstood. Oh, I'm just trying to have a dialogue. I'm just trying to have discussion. Really? So you want a discussion solely based on your falsehoods, your false narratives. But when people bring you a level of truth, you're not interested in that. That's not where you want to be. And then you want to say, oh, but that's not the question I asked. Well, I done answered the question you asked. Why is there a fund? The question isn't why is it segregated? It's not segregated. It's an affinity for Black women. I have an affinity for Black women. You want to do something for all women? Then do something for all women. What stops you from all women? Stopping you from all women? And why do I'm not interested in all women in this particular instance. In this particular instance, my affinity is for Black women. Why? Hello, Black woman waving, Black woman. So that's all. That's what I'm saying. This is my point. This is my point. So I was pissed off, and then I was mildly amused. And now I'm just like, quite telling. Quite telling. So, they don't want to they don't want the truth. They don't want to walk in truth. None of that. Here we are. Fun is doing well. Very proud of it. I appreciate the outpouring support, the commitment of people. Rallying and rallying to my support around this. Cheering me on and being very helpful and offering their support. I can't tell you how it's been nice to sort of have people support this work. And it keeps focused on forward. $50,000 to raise a year. And I believe I'll get there. And it's only been a couple of days and I got $3,500. So thank you. all the people that have given. They'll get thank you notes and they'll go out to people and very proud of this. I appreciate it. So yeah, it's Friday. Got a birthday party to go to. My friend Sarah is in town. So we're gonna do some good porching sometime tonight and sometime tomorrow. I think we might make our way to the private beach with our good friend sometime tomorrow for a little bit of the afternoon. And then just chill it on down for Sunday. Chill it on down for Sunday. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. I think the weather is going to be really, really nice this weekend. It's going to be another one of those weekends where I feel like the best summer ever. I know. Listen, I'm just grateful I don't have Luke back to school. Whew. I just feel like I should be in Target trolling these. I didn't. Babz, get out of here. Okay, so you don't have kids. Okay, don't. I don't. And I don't miss buying backpacks and school supplies and back to school shoes and back to school sneakers. Oh my God. That used to be the bane of my existence. Oh, and we'd get it done though. And my kids went to parochial school. So we had to like get uniforms. And I tried to get them 2 or 3 uniforms a piece, right? Khaki pants, the shirt. And these shirts are always ridiculously expensive because you had to buy the damn emblem to go on the shirt. And that immediately jacked the price of like a $10 polo shirt becomes a $25 polo shirt because of the daggone emblem. And then I stopped buying the cardigan sweaters because these kids would just leave them at school. It would just leave them, these cardigans go the way of the dinosaur. washing these uniforms, oh my God. And so they had polo shirts for the summer, then they had like button down shirts for the fall. So when they came back to school, September into October, pretty much they could get away with wearing their polo shirts, and then they'd have to wear the long sleeve button down shirt into the winter months, and then the girls had to wear the jumpers. They weren't allowed to wear pants, which was its own ridiculous sexism. Like, you put the girls in their tights, you put them in their shoes, you put them in their jumper. How to do it. So that's what it was, Get them ready for the first day of school. And I took pictures of them every year for the first day of school. Fresh haircuts, fresh hairdos. And then they'd come home and look like they was in a war. Took no time at all to see scuffed shoes, torn pants. Oh my God. You know, and I would fix them lunches and they would never eat these lunches. These lunches would sit in these damn backpack. I was like, what are you doing? And it like any of them just I'd give them snacks and healthy lunches. They never wanted that stuff. Oh. And so on Fridays they could get food would, if you sent in $2 or $3, you could order pizza, get a couple of slices or hot dogs or whatever. So sometimes if I had the money, I would do that. But with 4 kids, you're trying to give them all money to do that, drinks and hot dogs. It got to be pretty, expensive. But I did what I could do, and then I got to do it more times than not. And I drove them to school. They didn't ride the bus to school. I drove them to school. So when I tell you I don't miss it, I don't miss it. I like remembering it. I like remembering it because it was fun, and I enjoyed taking them to school, and I knew their teachers, and I knew the principal. but I don't want to ever go back to that. Like I don't miss it, but I like remembering it. There's a difference. I like remembering it. Let's say about that. I like remembering that these children uh, had a good foundational education. Well, for the most part, some of them did anyway. But now you know what? They get to decide for themselves what they're going to do with their lives. Uh, they prepare themselves to figure out where they're going to live and how they're going to live. Got a foundation of how to do some things. Things they're just going to have to learn. What you try to tell them, and they will. Everybody gets out there. I remember when I first went off to college and scary that was, and how if I felt like I never was going to finished in 4 years, and I remember hit or miss when I came home and got my first place and uh, first couple of apartments, and then I had to move back home because I couldn't afford things. Got back out there again. So I lived in all kinds of situations, just trying to carve out my own independence. Because that's really at the heart of trying to be grown, your own independence. So just try to do that, and bumps and bruises along the way, but do it. I mean, my sister and I, we had a great first of all, we had a divey apartment on Winchester Avenue. Then we bought the condo. That was good, and then gave up the condo because she got married. She went to get married. I lived in just about all the neighborhoods except I never lived in Fairhaven. I never lived in Worcester Square. Um, but I lived pretty much everywhere. Uh, I lived in Point, which I really loved, and I probably would still be in that house if we were able to go up or back a little bit in renovating it. But, uh, so Point, the Dwight Kensington. I used to live upstairs of Black Print, walking to Heritage Gallery. Black Print Heritage Gallery, walking to Christian Bookstore. So I lived upstairs on the third floor. I loved that apartment. It was such a great apartment. A clawfoot tub, um, great. I had lots of room in that apartment. So I lived there. Although climbing those stairs were a beast. Third floor, walk up. Ooh, that was um let's see, Beaver Hill, now Newhallville. So I mean I lived a bunch of places. Lived a bunch of places now. But I never lived in Fairhaven. I never lived in Worcester Square. I never lived in the East Shore, and I never lived Goatstown. And I never lived like East Rock, lived in East Rock. So yeah, interesting. But when I move from here, I like to move water. That's my next commute. Water. I want house. So that's my next. I don't care if it's on the East Shore. Although looking at West Haven, not because but West Haven has the longest shoreline of any city or town in Connecticut. Has the longest shoreline. I didn't know that. You know how I learned that? I was watching HGTV. They had this couple that was moving from Stanford because they couldn't afford anything Stanford by the water. So they came further down and landed in West Haven and was looking at properties. They, like me, wanted to walk out and see the beach. Close, walk to the beach. And that's how I learned that little fact that West Haven has the longest shoreline in Connecticut. So I didn't know that. And there's parts of West Haven that's really, really nice. And if you jump out of the West Haven and into Milford, the prices go, just like anywhere, the prices go up a bit more. So it's much more economical in West Haven find a beach house than just about anywhere in Connecticut. Oh, that's something to think about. If I truly want beachfront property in my state, because it's unlikely I'm gonna move to the Gulf Coast. Because I just can't. Much as I love the South, I love the South to visit. I don't know how well I do talking the kind of talk I talk living there. I think, yeah, no. I think Connecticut is the right balance of Southern hospitality charm and liberal sensibility. At least I think. At least I can identify with more liberals here. I don't know how I'd find liberals in the South. I don't know how hard that look would be. I just don't know. I'd have to put up signs. I'm looking for the liberal contingency. There's liberal contingency where in the South, you know, expats. I need a liberal outpost in the South of Yankee expats in the South. I need that. I need that. Oh my God. So I'm sure they exist because people get elected all the time. We'll see. But I do. I want some beachfront property. So, and I like to do it before I get too old to really enjoy the beach. Not that you ever get too old to enjoy the beach, but I'm very mobile now. I can get around. I can do stuff. I don't know how I'd be in my 90s. So, see. But that's what I'm thinking about. So I'm starting to look for that. Starting to think about that. Starting to think about where can I find some. Starting to do that look. Uh, how that fares. So when I will I initially thought Costa Rica because we were slated to go to Costa Rica to look at some properties, and because of the pandemic, we had to cancel our Costa Rica trip. Well, the Costa Rica trip got canceled because the pandemic went far and wide. But now I'm thinking about Costa Rica. Ife came back from Spain. I think we're going to look at Spain. We're going to look at um, um, uh, Portugal. We're going to look at definitely now that in some parts of Africa. I think my girlfriend is in. She's always encouraging us to look at Rwanda. Rwanda is definitely on my my list. And Benin, only because I saw High and the Hog, and I just love the vibe of Benin and all the food culture there. I was like, no, I'm feeling this. So we're just waiting for this pandemic to go away so that we can travel. We can't go anywhere. I'm planning to go back to Paris in the spring for my birthday, and then we're planning this Morocco trip for my 60th birthday, and we just trying to hold our breath about hoping this pandemic is done, over or something. Enough people can get vaccinated, get around the world again. It's just so you have all these plans and you can't execute any of them because the world is unsafe and unsafe because of a pandemic. It's a little daunting for us. Go. So, but I was talking to somebody yesterday, and might be a good time to see the next year to just see America. I've spent a lot of time traveling in America when I was in undergrad, 40 years. go. So I've spent enough time on the highways and byways of the country. And I America is a very beautiful place. When you start to travel it, get all kinds of environmental experiences traveling, the country. Uh, you know, from the big sky country of Montana and Idaho and Wyoming, the Pacific coastline of California and Washington and Oregon, uh, to Midwest sensibilities of Ohio and Pennsylvania, and the Gulf Coast, Texas and Alabama, Mississippi, the other side of Florida, and the southern states, and then of course New England, from Connecticut to Maine. So uh, there's a lot to see. So anyway, so I was having this conversation. We were talking about a train ride across the country because Amtrak, uh, maybe taking some across the country by train, and you get off and stay at places and get back on and have a sleeper car and kinds of things. So, but I'll get my travel fix in some kind of way. I am going with girlfriends a month to out a couple of days for surgery, celebrating one of my friend's birthday. I'm looking forward to that. We're not on the ocean, but we are in a fabulous big giant house that's overlooking marshes and a farm and acres, and I think that'll be quite relaxing. And I believe I'm going to try to go from there in the morning, so that following week I go into surgery out for a couple of weeks. And I want to try to I kind of want to get back on my feet very, very quickly after, now that I know what to expect. Now I got some experience with this hip replacement surgery and what it requires. What it requires. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be ready for this one. What to do. I've already been strength training with Robert at Full Fit, lifting weights and strengthening the hips and the upper body, and so I'm feeling pretty good about that. Just ready. I'm just ready, 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 ready. So ready. I'm going into this with way more information than when I went in the first time. So, next week we got some good guests. I got Raven and Steve are coming on to talk about. They've got some event coming up. They're hosting some kind of event, and I want them to come on and talk about it. I think it's like a meal kind of thing, like gather people for a meal and cocktails, wine tasting, that kind of thing. So they got that event coming up. Anru is back. He's coming back on Tuesday at 9:15. I'm excited to talk to him because we love when Anru comes, brings us the word and the spirit. So he's going to be here. The 12th, I'm talking to Aya Beckel Swanson, who is the new director of the Concat Incubator Lab, Innovation Incubator, Business Incubator Lab. So I'm looking forward to talking to her. And then I know Dr. Brown will be back somewhere around here. So I'll have him on. And then I've got some other people coming up. So I'm gearing up to I'm in conversations with Community Foundation. They're going to come out because they just launched a press release talking about all the money they gave out to for equity and inclusion efforts. So I'm looking forward to hearing what that's about and what the expectation is around that. So there's some good conversations coming up to be had. Let me tell you, we are doing some talking in August. And let me tell you, August is Black Philanthropy Month, right? So if you want to give, now's the time to give to some of your favorite Black institutions. philanthropic institutions, shore them up. And feel free to give to the Freed Women's Fund. I'm under the Prosperity Foundation umbrella. So feel free to give generously if you can, or what you can. I appreciate it greatly. So yeah, so this is a good time. It's a good month. This is a good month for good things. And people are out here doing good stuff. And they're not letting COVID wear them out. So yeah. So if you have a mindset, get over to People Get Ready books. Got books over there. Go buy them. Trying to shout out all the places that I like to shop. People Get Ready books. Dwell downtown on Chapel Street. I love them. And Idiom. I'm in there. I have to go over there this morning anyway because I need a gift. I have to run over there. Make a beeline to Bloom. I was over there yesterday and had a mocktail. Get yourself to Bloom. Alicia is wonderful, and the store is so pretty. I bought a plant that's sitting outside. I bought a plant, so I'm a new plant mommy. So I'm diving into this plant world, and as soon as all the children leave my house, and I can have my full space back, I'm gonna put plants all through the house. Find some plant tables, put plants up on top of all the things, and it'll be a little bit of an oasis. That's the plan. So I'm enjoying them, and her husband is a wonderful resource. He's a plant caretaker over at Bloom. And so every plant that you buy comes with a romance card that tells you the name of the plant, what the plant is. And on the back, it tells you simple, what you need to do to take care of the daggone plant. Simple. Not a whole lot of, whatever. And he's like, and if you get into trouble, Babz, just bring the plant back to me. Just bring me the plant, and I got you. So I was like, okay. He's like, so if you get in trouble, just bring the plant, and I'll work some magic. So I'm very happy about that. I'm glad that there's a plant doctor in the house, and he's a brother, and he is serious about his plants, and I love that. And he's very nice and personable. So yeah, so I was in there yesterday, and I was like, oh, I'll come back and buy a plant. And I was like, come back. I'm already here. I'm gonna buy a plant right now. So I bought a plant. Really like it. It's very pretty. And he's like, you can leave it outside, and then when the first frost, just bring it in. I was like, okay, because I have a rubber plant that someone Albert gave me, and it's growing. I looked at it yesterday. I was like, man, that rubber plant is tall, but I wanted to fill in because they have a rubber plant at Bloom that I want, and because my rubber plant doesn't look full like that. My rubber plant is just tall, growing tall, but it's not filling in. So I think I might get that rubber plant over there so I can fill in. So I can have like 2 rubber plants. And then I got a bunch of other plants that I like too. So yes, I'm going to become a plant mommy. That's my goal. That's what I'm gonna do. So happy Friday, everybody. I hope your weekend is good. I think it's gonna be great. The weather's gonna be fine. I've got lots to do. I got friends in town. I've got parties to go to. I'm gonna go to the beach, and I've actually put my swimsuit on and put my feet in the water. Get in the water. Just frolic. Get in the water and frolic. That's what you do. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, some porch time. So if y'all are driving down my neighborhood, stop by. If you see us hanging out on the porch, come on through, pop on by. Porching is a real thing. And, I enjoy the company. So if you're in the hood, you got to stop by the porch. So, and, there's always some good libations on it. Right now we're enjoying all the rosés that we could swallow. We're drinking all the summer water right now. Drinking all the rosés. Every rosé known to man is on that porch. Let me tell you, we're drinking all the rosés. So it's been a great week. I've had a good time. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Harry, for a good week. We'll be back on Monday. I hope y'all have a good weekend. Enjoy this weather. Paul, you gotta let me know how Uncle Nearest is. I hope you like it as much as I do. And yes, it is a pricier price point, but I've spent more on bourbon. So, but enjoy it. Let me know how you like it. It has become one of my favorites. And and I like it with a good cigar. And I've got some cigars. So I might join you in getting a bottle this weekend. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Right now, Rosé's world. So, but I'll see y'all. So
Hi, this is Babz Rawls-Ivy from New Haven, Connecticut, and you're listening to WNHHLP 103.5 FM, streaming live at newhavenindependent.org.